bring the energy, he'll do.
Good morning, folks. I have to do one thing here before we get everything fired up because I almost forgot to end up doing something that's really important for me to hear exactly what's going on. All right, take two.
You bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
It feels good to see the world getting loose. Feels good to see the world getting loose. I don't know about you, Sack Noel. I don't know about you, Phenom. I don't know about you, White Shadow. I don't know about you, but I feel good.
Good morning, and once again, you're listening to Martinez Company here live in the Tampa studios on the Coastal Sports Network. We can't thank you guys enough for supporting the show, showing some love for the show, and especially for the network, as Pete Shepard had just gone off this morning here from 7 to 10 a.m., and of course, I follow him from 10 to 12, and then usually it's The Drive with Q on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but Q has been doing some boxing activity, and so with that being said, he should hopefully be back with us maybe come, I would say maybe come next weekish or so. He should be back with us. So we shall see as Q will get done doing what he's doing to make sure that he comes back with us. And you guys will be able to hear a show afterwards. But then later on today, you guys will also hear Beebs World. They'll be back at 6 p.m. And then followed in Capturing the Night will be Talking Hoops with Coach Mack, Coach Johnson, Ron Briscoe. And I'm quite sure they're going to have a lot to talk about, including one Joel Embiid, who I think at this point is either and I understand that you don't want, one big thing is that you never want to bring up someone's family or wife or whatever case situation is. You never want to bring them up in a conversation, especially if it is a person in their family who had passed away. That is, to me, the ultimate dig on someone, and you should never do that. Now, he has been suspended for 3 games. And again, whenever he's quote unquote considered game eligible, for whatever the heck that means too, because we know the Sixers got fined. Like, all the news coming out of Sixers camp as of late is not all good news. And that's something that the Sixers need to get away from, because it's not a good look. So the Sixers and Coach Nurse, just in a disarray of problems, and it's a shame that it's happening that way, but nonetheless, we'll get into a little bit more. As Rick says, Rick Marcus, good morning. Lots to talk about when your basketball team is 1-5. Yep. As I mentioned earlier on Pete's show, that the Orlando Magic, a young up-and-coming team, continues to do well, versus you have an experienced team in Philadelphia that just finds a way to just, I don't know. You can't even, is it maybe a kiddie roller coaster ride? Maybe that's the best way to describe it, because usually on a good note, I should say, you do one of these numbers, right? You kind of get on tracks, you go up, obviously go down, curve around a whole 9 yards. Sixers, I don't know. It's like every single season we wait, we expect, we hope. Maybe someone come out with a t-shirt that way, because I don't know what the expectations are anymore when it comes from the Sixers. So I don't know, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. Speaking of coaches, Coach Evia from the Wesley Chapel Kings will be coming on with me at the bottom of the hour at 10:30, just here in a couple more minutes. He'll be talking about the new Global Basketball Association, the GBA league that will be here in Florida. It's going to be an interesting league. I think they're going to be doing things the right way to get people involved and have not only people, but maybe youth involved as well. So he'll get into that. He'll let us know exactly when the Kings are going to be starting things up. And if you guys already know, they've already had a workout previously, but now soon they'll be having more workouts to start building up their team for the 2025 season. And we'll get into a little bit of the Cowboys talk, which just seems like that's nonstop. Also get into some videos as well as there's just been a lot going on. Apparently between the overnight, obviously the NFL deadline came around. That came and went. And listen, for the teams who made out well, which I think Detroit made out pretty good, these are teams that are making to do a playoff push. The Eagles did absolutely nothing, kept silent, which raises, in my opinion, two questions. One is does Howie not want for Nick Sirianni to be back here next season, or does he feel with this banged up team and what they have and what's supposed to be the next man up mentality, is it enough for the Eagles to be able to make that playoff push? Now, I know I bump heads a lot when it comes to Coach Sirianni, but the Eagles should be, as it is Dallas week, and there's been a lot of tension on Dallas for, again, all the wrong reasons. We shall see what they would end up doing. But I also want us to start off the show with, and you guys have heard me say this about Señorita Galak, the goalkeeper for USF women's soccer. I mentioned early on she should be goalkeeper of the year. And rightfully so, she got awarded that honor. She is the AAC goalkeeper of the year. Sadie Sider-Eckenberg becomes a midfielder of the year, and other notables as well for USF women. But I want to start out with the video here from the USF women's soccer team because they are on a mission. And I mentioned this too, that they were on a mission. And with that mission, you have to see, obviously, them reaching now the semifinals. Just a couple more games to go. They play East Carolina here tomorrow, which that's going to be super exciting to watch. But this was the fun that they had yesterday leading up to what will be the East Carolina semifinal match.
Whizzed into the final third. Suter gets on the ball. Suter strikes! South Florida up 1-0 early. The South Florida Bulls dominate their way to a spot in the semifinals.
Semifinals, baby! Always! She stepped up.
Now, I've covered a team here from South Florida, and obviously all season long. I think the women are just, listen, they are on a mission. They are on a mission. Say what you want to say. These women have been on a mission. And I'm glad to see, more importantly, is that this team is so resilient. And I believe, obviously, the defending champs, the one game that I mentioned early on in the season was going to be that pivot point for the remainder of the season. And match after match, these women go out here and they put the best play on the pitch. So a couple other ones that I want to make sure that I mention as well before I have Coach on here. A couple of honorable mentions you have, and you guys also see it there on the bottom line. So as I mentioned before, Señorita Galak, your goalkeeper of the year. Then you have Sadie Sider-Eckenberg, who is the midfielder of the year. Then Georgia Brown, along with Señorita Galak and Sadie, our first team all-conference, followed by Anna Suter, Gentia Fatah, second team all-conference, then Michaela Hill, third team all-conference, and two notable freshmen, Sophia Cabral and Brooke Fabry, all freshman team. That is not an easy feat, and congratulations and hats off to the women and the exceptional job that they've done here. And I want to bring this up by Chad Smith here, an article that he wrote, and you guys can see a lot of this information over on SR 1029 The Game. But as he mentions, Eras Galak, Sadie Sider-Eckenberg lead AAC honors as 8 Bulls land on all AAC teams. Now, this was the American Athletic Conference announced its yearly superlatives and all the conference team selections. Lier Eras Galak and Sadie Sider-Eckenberg both collected a Player of the Year honor as the University of South Florida had 7 student athletes earn spots on all conference teams. And Askalak was named the AAC Goalkeeper of the Year, while Sadie Sider-Eckenberg was tabbed the Midfielder of the Year. Georgia Brown joined Askalak and Sider-Eckenberg on all AAC first team, which I had just mentioned. And Asuder and Gentia Fatah were selected for the second team, and Michaela Hill earned a spot on the third team. Sophia and Brooke landed on the AAC all-freshman team. Now, for Goalkeeper of the Year, after a phenomenal season, Askalak won her first Goalkeeper of the Year and her first all-conference honor. She is tied for 9th in the NCAA with 10 clean sheets, which is the most in the AAC. She is tied for 6th in the country and leads the conference with a save percentage of .882, with goals against average of .385. She is 5th in the nation and paces the AAC. She enters Monday, which already had surpassed, with a record of 11-2, which now being 12-2. She has stopped 45 shots and surrendered only 6 goals in 17 matches. For the AAC Midfielder of the Year, which is Sadie Sider-Eckenberg, she won her first AAC Midfielder of the Year award and her first all-conference accolade. She finished the regular season tied for second on the team with 5 goals and 12 points. She has added 2 assists, and she has recorded the match-winning goal in all 4 matches she has scored. She accounted for all 3 USF goals in back-to-back matches against North Texas and UTSA, and the list goes on from there. But this is, again, which I had mentioned very, very, very early on, that this team was definitely on a mission, and I still believe that. Good luck, as her next game will be November 7th against East Carolina. That is going to be a huge match. I also believe that Coach Chris Brown should get at least mentions of Coach of the Year, because how he has turned this team into a championship competitive team, just like his wife did, but coming in as a first-year head coach for USF, even though he's been with the university for many years, he has done an absolute fantastic job for this team. Again, November 7th, 4 p.m., which is tomorrow, against East Carolina in the semifinals. We shall see how this all ends up playing out, or the match play for that matter. Penguin AC says, good morning, fellas. And as Rick and Penguin exchange pleasantries, as we always like to announce, and coming up now with me, sometimes, you have some coaches, they need a little bit of introduction. Some coaches need absolutely no introduction. I believe this coach here is the combo of the both. And what I mean by that is Coach JPH, just put the initials together because it makes it a little bit easier. It makes it more fun. It makes it more, I guess, worthy of energy. But the Wesley Chapel Kings coach from the Global Association, Basketball Association, joins me now here live from the Miami region. But Coach, first of all, thank you for joining me this morning. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely, Angel. I appreciate you guys having me on.
So listen, it's exciting times, I think, obviously for Wesley Chapel, for the Tampa region. It's going to be great to see that basketball is back. I mean, we already know there's another team announced here in the Tampa region, one that's coming back that used to be here. But now you guys are coming up to Wesley Chapel, and the excitement was building. And then there was a pivot and switch from one league to the next. But now the conversation that we had yesterday, the fun that we've been having leading up to this and building up in the community process is going to be huge. But Coach, tell us about, for those that don't know, a little bit about your background as far as coaching, and then what do we expect from the Wesley Chapel Kings? Because it's going to be quite the season come 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about myself, like you introduced me, Angel. Name is JP Hevia. Also Jonathan Hevia. We want the fans to call me by whatever they feel comfortable with. Coaching background, coach at Division II level, coach at the small college level, coach professionally in Latin America, and now taking over the reins here with the Wesley Chapel Kings, trying to build something special for the greater Tampa community.
It's going to be, listen, Tampa is dying for professional basketball. I think everybody knows that when COVID happened, we had the Toronto Raptors here. Then that's when Nick Nurse was still with the Raptors. But, everybody came out and numbers out the Amalie Arena. Now, I wouldn't expect, obviously, for you guys to lease out the arena because that is a lot of money in order to pay. And obviously to grow as a league, as far as coming in and being the first year, you guys want to make sure that the fan base, that the community is very much involved. But I think the name behind it, when you choose a name for a team, there's a lot that goes into it. Some people look at Kings maybe in a negative light. Some people see it in a big light. Some people see it as a positive light. But when you put the Wesley Chapel Kings, it's almost like you guys are already saying, we're here and we're here to play. Not saying we're here to dominate, but we're here to play. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy what they're going to see out there as far as on the basketball court, because again, Tampa needs a team that they can grow with. And they need a team that they know will be back year after year, even if it's a condensed schedule. The big thing is that they want to see a team that comes here, that connects with the community, that's heavily involved in the community, because we all know, Coach, that this is driven by kids. And kids, just like they love baseball, is the absolute love is basketball. So starting with the kids side of the house, I know that you have, a big heart as far as when it comes for the kids. Being a coach, you have to balance right between the young adults, the young teens, and then into the kids as well. But how will this team connect with the youth here in the local Tampa Bay area?
So, Angel, it's kind of like what you hit, brother. Ownership definitely wanted to get involved and bring a team to the greater Tampa area, because they know that basketball is something that's been missing, especially after the Toronto Raptors being there during the COVID years. As for the kids, the youth, the community, that's our biggest point of emphasis. Yes, we want to be known as a professional basketball team. Yes, we want to win games and we want to compete for titles. But ultimately, what we want to do is bring what's missing in the community. We want to, bring the community together. We want to use our platform as the Wesley Chapel Kings to really help in whatever way we can, whether that's youth development, community outreach, so on and so forth. So, for example, our Wesley Chapel Kings, yes, we will have the professional team, but we also will have a youth team that we want to mold and mentor and develop, not just on the court, but also off the court. And we think that's the best way of getting out to the community, fulfilling some holes that the community might have. And ultimately, we want to be the community's team. You mentioned our name, the Kings. If you look at any great king, they're seen as leaders, and that's what we want to be seen as: leaders in the community and leaders in the league, that we're able to change lives and make differences. So that's our ultimate goal as the Wesley Chapel Kings beyond basketball, is to make sure that we're fulfilling whatever needs the community needs from us.
Now, the owner, which I'm quite sure he knows, this being a lot of folks like to call it the Tampa Bay area because of what happened with the Bucks as of recent. The Rays, not so much, as they're kind of now into rebuild mode. Not only that, but they have to find a roof to be able to play come next season. You can make light jokes of it because obviously that paper mache roof that they had up there at Tropicana Field, unfortunately didn't survive the storm. But there's a lot of championship teams that have happened here in Tampa Bay. So you guys coming in, the connection is going to be there. And that's what fans expect that, especially when it comes to basketball. Now, not saying obviously first year out of the gate, everybody's goal, Coach, and I'm quite sure you've said this numerous times as well. Anybody who's a professional coach always says to their team, this year is for us to win a championship. Now, it would be great for you guys not only to come here to the area as the newest professional basketball team on a new professional league as well, but just think about if the owner made the right move and decided, you know what, we are going to be those Kings and we're going to be the ones that actually dominate the courts, then you walk away with that first season championship. Is it, and I'm just putting this in hypothetical terms because obviously the season hasn't started, I'm just throwing this out there as a wild card, but would then, for you as a coach, would you be more thankful, which you're always going to be, would you be more thankful of being the inaugural season team to win a championship, or does the target then become that much more bigger for then year two? All right. Coach, do you hear me? Coach, you might have to refresh because I don't know, Coach might have to refresh. I think he went out, came back in.
Yeah, It
Can you hear me, Coach?
can you guys hear me?
Coach,
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. There you go. All right, he'll come back. Coach will come back. I'll repeat the question all over again. I did see that he went out and came back, so it may have just been a little glitch on his side, but no big deal. But he'll come back as he's not up there on the screen right now. But Coach will come right back here shortly. But nonetheless, Wesley Chapel Kings are the one of the 16 teams that will be joining the GBA, and we're all excited to see what the commissioner has in store, especially for this league as we're waiting for the league itself to start. I think it's going to be definitely a great time for us to see what all this team's going to end up doing. So I'll just again give Coach here a moment for him to come back on. There he is. Coach is back. All right, Coach, let's try this again.
Perfect.
All right. So I had mentioned prior to, and I don't know if you caught it or not, but I was mentioning that, coming in the first year as the owner coming into this brand new league, this brand new organization as well, added to the league. Would the pressure be, because you always start out every single year, no matter what team you end up coaching the goal is to always win a championship that season. So let's just say in the inaugural season that you guys, the Wesley Chapel Kings, end up being the inaugural GBA champions. Would the pressure then be more on year one because you guys won the championship and now you have a big target on your back for next season? Or would you rather at least have a successful campaign going into 2025 and then hope to become champions in 2026?
So that's a tough question, Angel, and I appreciate you asking that. For us, obviously we want to win. We want to win a championship in the first year, really set the standard on how we're going to move and just move the team going forward. For me, it's more about, so I go by the phrase win the day. So all my players, everybody that I come in contact with, that's my biggest thing. Win the day. How are you going to win the day? And that's living up to the standard that you set and making sure that you're working towards your ultimate goals. There's a lot of things in professional sports that can stop you from reaching your ultimate goal. Injuries, just things that are not in your control, but our focus is to make sure that we win the day, that we're giving our best effort each day. We're executing at the highest level possible. We're coming in each day and acting as professionals on the court, off the court, so that we can maximize the opportunity that we have in front of us. Now, as for pressures, I think we can come out and win the inaugural season. We're talking to some guys that we want to sign. There's some great ball players in the greater Tampa area, some that have professional experience in other leagues, others that are looking for their first opportunities. And we've held tryouts in the Tampa area. I've been very impressed with the players that are there. And I think that if we can land some of those and bring in some other guys that really embody what the Wesley Chapel Kings are all about and really understand what the greater Tampa community is all about, I think we can make a really deep run and win a championship in the first year for sure.
I want to see why not. I've seen the caliber of players and the people you've had on beforehand. People that actually want to play. I think between you and the ownership, as far as the relationship you guys have, I wouldn't expect anything less, obviously, from a championship team. And that goes for any team that ends up joining the league. But for you guys, it would be tremendous to, again, the name within itself, the Wesley Chapel Kings, to be able to hoist that trophy at the end of the season, the inaugural one, because I would be more excited. Not only it's going to be exciting as far as calling the games, I just can't wait for the season actually to tip off, because if that truly happens, I always say, every coach loves to celebrate, maybe like obviously that day, maybe the night after. They might let it go for a couple of days, but then it's right back to business, because you guys already know if you are the championship winning coach of that inaugural season, not only are other people going to start reaching out to you to hopefully come coach their team or move you up to the next level, then it's going to be like, I want to join that team. What can I do to get to that organization? Because you're right, the men that represent the organization and even the people who come on as far as, whether it being the staff, everybody, it takes an entire team to make a championship team. And it starts from the front office all the way down, throughout the team itself. But the guys who are out there that want to play, and they could be playing for other leagues. It's not like, as long as obviously there's no conflict where they can't play two leagues at once. But I think for former athletes that maybe have had that minor injury, that tweak that didn't get them to the next level, whether it be in the G League or the NBA, this is a great opportunity for them to showcase not only their talents, but show what it is to be a part of a winning organization. I think for me, for when you guys arrive here and we start seeing, I would say about the February, March timeframe, where it's more and more involvement here in the area, I think you guys are going to win the fan base over here because, again, it's not only are you providing an opportunity for the local folks around here, especially for the fan base, to be able to come and cheer you guys on, but again, the guys who want to join this team. And then it falls back to the kids, where the kids will have at least some hope and opportunity, hoping that if the league remains for many years, they can start looking from the junior high to high school level to be able to come and join you guys, to be able to get them to that next level. And I think where a lot of different leagues now are starting to make a difference is that, sure, we want our young children to be able to go to college. If they're able to get that full ride scholarship, by all means, they can get it. Therefore, at least they have something else to fall back on other than sports. But you take a league like the GBA, could be that stepping stone for, let's just say, a child that can't afford college, and they're able to come and showcase their talents so that other teams around the leagues and overseas can come and see them play. So I think you guys are presenting a grand opportunity for a lot of young people.
Yeah, absolutely. Angel, you hit it right on the head, man. I mean, we're the only country that I know of that ties our athletics to academics. So guys that want to go play collegiately, obviously, there's a lot of incentive to do so, especially if you're an NBA type prospect. But like you said, if there's a guy that wants to play and is looking for an opportunity and can't just financially afford to go to a smaller university and play collegiately, we want to be able to, in the next couple years, follow the European model, where these clubs have different age divisions tied to their professional teams, and almost use it as a feeder and development system. So that's the long-term goal for the Wesley Chapel Kings on the court, is to obviously embody that whole development process from the grade school level up. This first year will be mostly, the professional team and a certain age level for the youth team. But ultimately, that would be the goal for our organization, is embody that European model, make sure that we have different age groups, and really embody that developmental component that the game needs at the youth level.
It has to be, because you got to figure, today's youth was going to lead the world tomorrow, and we need more leaders today, because Lord knows we have a ton of followers. We need leaders, and it starts with our youth. And the only way it happens is with leaders like yourself and the league to be able to, to let these young women and men know that you do have an outlet, even if you think you don't, that you have one. Because, we can all talk about different, subjects. We can talk about social media, presidencies. We can talk about all that stuff. But in order to get to that level, we have to start when they're young, to make sure that they know that, as kids, we all did it, Coach. I did it, you did it. We all, there was a goal that we wanted as a child when we were younger. And it may not have been the goal that we wanted as we started becoming adults, because, everything changes. Your mind changes. You figure out that maybe that's not what you wanted to end up being, but everything changes. But it does start with the youth, because if they do have good leaders to come to, and the guys who make the team, where they're able to encourage these young kids to come and just speak to them. And some of them might even go to you guys, because there could be things that are going on in their life that they can't share with other people. And they can share with you guys, where you guys would turn around and put it into a good positive spin so that they don't give up. One kid in particular, which he's a young man now, I call him a kid, but Jeremiah Dickerson, I always talk about this young man because he's starting.
Great guy.
Yep. He took a bad situation and has turned it into an amazing positive situation, because he could have went the other road. And he could have said, you know what, I'm just going to go with the other masses and just go ahead and do what other people do and just bring this big negative vibe, take his career and just tank it. But in return, he switched colleges, has now come up with his own team coming up for next season. It's a nonprofit organization, but he's doing it because he wants to show, again, the youth, and him being a youth as well, that you can turn a negative into a direct positive. So I'm really looking forward to see, and of course you'll be on a lot more here on the network, as you'll be, the firsthand voice for the Wesley Chapel Kings. But the good thing is going to be is as we start leading up to the season, the different people we're going to talk to, the owner hopefully will be able to have some opportunity to come on, even if it's for a minute or two, to let us know exactly where he stands. But this is going to be exciting as it continues to develop coming up to the 2025 season. And of course, all games for the Wesley Chapel Kings will be the home here at Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. So when you guys want to listen to live professional basketball, you'll hear right here on the network, and we have your full coverage for which hopefully will end up being for the entire league. But, this is such a huge opportunity. And I think for a lot of folks, even if you don't live in the Tampa region, that's the one thing that people have to understand too, is that you may like a team as they'll be announced here shortly. But if there is a team locally in your area that you would like to try out for, you can. But of course, what Wesley Chapel Kings would love is the top tier athletes that can come out here and showcase it. Because I would think, coaches, as let's just say once the new year rolls around, because right now, it's all about the logistics, figuring out, how you can build that community development. So this time of year is what I call like the null and void era, because you guys are just trying to put the front office staff, you're just trying to put the administration level of it together and then start proceeding come next season for all your athletes. So come January, I would assume between January and March, there's got to be at least, I would think, more than maybe 10 to 12 different tryouts.
So we're not going to do as many as that. How we're going to go about it is we have 3 remaining tryouts coming up before the new year. With that being said, we'll have an invite-only tryout of the guys that have made the final list from the 3 remaining tryouts and the 1 tryout that happened in September. The reason being, Angel, we want to be part of the community. And the only way to do that is get our players out to the community. So we want to have a finalized roster probably before the first week of February, so that we have our guys to come out, let the community know who they are, get to interact with them the whole 9. We don't want to just piece this together 3 weeks before the season and have no connection, or have our players have no connection to the community. We want them to be, involved. We want the community to be involved with our team. We want to hear from them and, who's your favorite player? Who do you like to interact with? So that we're making sure that, like I said before, we're filling voids in the community from our players to our front office to our ownership group. We want to make sure that everybody's involved, and we really want to be the greater Tampa area professional basketball team.
I think you guys are. You guys are heading in the right direction from the conversations that we have had. I believe the Wesley Chapel Kings are going to be one of those where people are really going to want to, I would assume, the next tryout. Now, the reason why I threw the 10 to 12 out there, because as you mentioned it, when it comes to the community, and that's the way you end up doing it. But I think come the next tryout, it's going to be, I would think, beyond a packed house for the guys who are going to be out there. And obviously the more, the promotions that are put out there, the guys are going to want to be a part of this. But there's a ring other than what you'll be chasing for in 2025. And for those who don't know, you end up getting a championship ring of your own not too long ago.
Yes, I absolutely did. Tied the knot on October 5th, married the love of my life, my best friend. And it's just been a wonderful journey with her. And now going forward, we get to do all this together. I can't complain about the support that she gives me. It's an amazing, I have an amazing wife, and she's with me every step of the way, and I can't be more than grateful for her.
Listen, the sentiment is exactly the same, because if it wasn't for my wife and her believing and everything, she's been with me since the start with Broad Street South, and then as things have changed over and grown. But it's the same way, people say it's funny, because I know this is where you guys can make the comments, and you can also text the show at 727-858-6650. But this is where you'll either get people going, "Oh my God," or they're gonna agree. For every good man, there's a good woman standing behind them. And
Yep.
as much. Now, there are people, don't get me wrong, men and women alike. There are some that they never want to be in a relationship. And listen, in the same way, there's a lot of them that don't want to have kids. And that's great because that's their choice. But if you want to be with someone because they bring out the best in you, and it sounds the same exact way when it comes between you and your wife, the same way with my wife, Debbie, and myself, a good woman's going to push you. Women are there to, and I won't say this in a bad way because it's never in a sense to drive you crazy. The drive you crazy portion of it is the push part. Like when you think, all right, you know what, I'll handle that tomorrow. And they just give you just one stare like, tomorrow? What happened with today?
Yeah.
Is there a minute in the day that you forgot? So, no, listen, it's great. I can't wait for the wives to get together as well because I think it'll be a lot of fun to see the driving force that is going to be behind not only the Wesley Chapel Kings, but for myself here at the Coastal Sports Network. But listen, there is nothing better than having a great woman by your side and see the achievements that you do. Then you guys do together as a couple, as one. That's even a better part. But then my other question would be, and I could be wrong, behind you on that wall I'm hoping that's not a New York Jets jersey.
Nope, that is a Dallas Cowboys jersey.
Okay. Not as bad, but just, it might. Is there 20 years worth of dust on that jersey, by the way, with Emmitt Smith?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. It's it's probably been hanging up there, for about I would say 5-6 years.
No, listen, even though we're obviously we start with basketball here, but how are you feeling as far as your Dallas Cowboys, being a Dallas Cowboys fan? Like there was a video that came out earlier today, and the guys had mentioned that they feel like Dak Prescott had quit on their team because of his whole hamstring injury, but he was the same one too, Coach. He said when he got signed, it was time to go win a Super Bowl. And Dallas, there's a lot of blame that goes to Jerry Jones as an owner. That's why you have to be either a really good owner and lead your team well, or be a Jerry Jones and just take the entire spotlight. But Dallas is getting, all kinds of negative news. How are you feeling the expectation for the remainder of the NFL season with your Dallas Cowboys?
I'm realistic. It's a wash season for us. I don't think we were prepared coming into the season. I have a lot of heavy views on the roster construction, the coaching staff, and so on and so forth. I wasn't excited coming into the season, nor was I excited last year when we were winning all those games. I'm very much a see it to believe it type person, and I've seen what the Dallas Cowboys have done the last 4 or 5 years. We're ultimately disappointed when it comes to the playoffs. We can't get past the first round, and I think it's time for a major shakeup. Whether that's the coaching staff, whether that's some of the player personnel, I think some things need to change. And a big component of that, I believe, is just the leadership and the culture in the locker room. I don't know if anybody's holding each other accountable to play to the best of their abilities. And that needs to change. And once that changes, I think we have a really good shot. But Washington's getting better. Philly's been good the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard division to win. And if you don't have guys that are all in and, pulling in the same direction, I don't see us getting over the hump anytime soon. So Jerry's going to have to do some soul searching, look himself in the mirror, and really answer some tough questions this offseason and the rest of the season. We traded a 4th and a 7th, I think, yesterday for a receiver from Carolina. I hope the guy pans out. He was a 2nd-round pick. What was it, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
But we need more than just a number 2 receiver. We need some guys to clog those holes and stop teams from running all over us. And we need somebody in the backfield that can get us over 100 yards. We got the worst run game, and I think we have the worst run defense in the league. So those are blue collar stats, and we need to get tougher.
You do, and the one thing which I'm kind of surprised that people are saying is that they feel like they need to trade Micah Parsons, and I find that really surprising, especially since he just got a pretty substantial amount not too long ago. But why would Dallas even entertain that? Again, it's Jerry Jones. I really shouldn't say much about that either. But you trade away Micah Parsons, that would be I think, truthfully, even though the NFL trade deadline is over, but that would be a huge dagger to the rest of the season if it happens.
Listen, I don't think you move on from him. He's a generational talent at his
Mm-hmm.
position. He can play. He can play in a 2-point stance, 4-point stance, linebacker. He can play all over that defensive backfield. Um, Honestly, I wouldn't have paid Dak Prescott as much as people don't think, or as much as people think that he deserved that money. I wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
paid him. I mean, you have 40% of your cap going to a wide receiver and a quarterback next year. I think that money should have been spent in different positions, and us reset, look for another quarterback. I know it's the hardest position to find, but I mean, give Jerry his flowers. He found him in the 4th round. I think he can go find another one. He found Romo, I don't know, in like the 3rd round. I don't remember where we drafted Romo, but he's done a good job in the later rounds finding a quarterback. And I think he could have done that next year, assuming there's a coaching change, and really figure out who that coach wants to build around.
He could have, but again, listen. I don't know when the world Jerry thinks, honestly, because it seems like year after year he sticks himself even further and further down the pike or something. I just don't know what goes on with Jerry Jones. I mean, he could be overall he could be a good person, but as far as the choices that he's making with his team, with his organization, I mean, he's losing a lot of his fan base, and I don't understand how in the world it's like. I kid around a lot about the Flyers. Obviously, it's a whole different, from hockey to football. But you got to think about it. For year after year, if you're a season ticket holder and you, on the average, I would think in Dallas, you're probably looking at about $5,000 that you're spending on season tickets. How much more could you possibly spend your hard-earned money? I don't care if you're a millionaire to believe that this team will end up doing anything any different, because I've never seen as many losses from Dallas in Dallas the way it's happened this season.
Absolutely. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just the heart and the blue collarness of the team. There's a certain pride that you have to play with at home. Whether you're a good team or a bad team, it shouldn't be that you're getting blown out on your field. That Saints loss that we took was horrible. When we played at home, Alvin Kamara had 4 touchdowns on us, and I think for the next 3 or 4 weeks, he didn't score a touchdown. So for Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, the Saints organization, to come out and blow us out on our field, that was very surprising. It was shocking. It raised some red flags, and I mean, we're seeing what it is. We've beat Pittsburgh with their backup quarterback. We've beat the Browns, who are terrible. And we've beat the Giants. So nobody to really say, hey, look at our quality wins. And again, I think it comes down to the culture in the locker room and the blue collaredness of the team. I think we're too flashy, too soft. And I think until that changes, us Dallas Cowboys fans are gonna suffer. I might switch over once I move to Tampa. I might become a Bucks fan.
Listen, you can do so. I kid around. So Mike Fuji, my guy out in Philly, he swears up and down that I have a Tom Brady jersey in my closet, which I don't. I do have the helmet behind me, obviously, because I am in the Tampa region. So of course, I'm going to talk about the Tampa teams as well. But
Yeah.
you bring up a kind of a great point about switching over to. Coming over here and switching me in a Bucks fan once you move. And I can't wait to the area as well, which is going to be a lot of fun. But You got to think about it. You talking about leaders. Look at Baker Mayfield, a guy who got bounced around. And the Browns just gave up on him. They're like, you're not the future. Yet you almost squeak a win out. And, it could be said that Todd Bowles should have gone for 2, should have went into overtime, the coin toss, all that stuff. But you look at Baker Mayfield. You talk about a leader. I mean, this guy could have had hatred towards everything if he wanted to, but he comes here to Tampa Bay, well-loved, well-received by the fan base, and obviously organization as well. And you talk about the next man up mentality. He has desperately been trying it with the Bucks. So that might not be a bad switch. I know there's a couple of championships you would have to give up with Cowboys, but that wouldn't be a bad switch, coach, to come over to the Bucks.
Listen, I might as well do it. They stand. Listen, Todd Bowles has that team playing hard. Baker
Hmm.
Mayfield, like you said, is a great leader to get behind. I mean, he took Kansas City down to the wire without his top two receivers. So they're doing a great job over there in Tampa. They're building it up right. Um, and I think that, you know, if they get the key pieces in the next 2 or 3 years, they can really take over that division and separate themselves
Hmm.
and possibly play for an AFC or, a league championship very soon.
I think so. So you guys thought coaches coming here and just talking about basketball. Ha, see what happens there? Get a little
Yeah.
NFL action, another different types of championship rings, which is the bigger one as well. But no,
Yeah.
it's all going to be. I can't wait. Honestly, as we get closer and closer, because you can. When the announcement was made, you can start feeling it for the Western Chapel Kings. As it's now coming more to fruition, I think the excitement is starting to build. And I can't wait to see where, what we will call home for next season. And then as the
Yep.
team starts to build, it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait for the season to kick off, yet alone the inaugural season for the GBA, which I think is going to be outstanding. And the next time you're on, hopefully we'll talk a little bit more of their thoughts and what they plan on doing, because I just, you put the little pieces out there so people come back and they listen in to see what the league's going to end up doing. But this is going to be, I think, for me and for you and along with everyone else, exciting times here in Tampa where there's a professional basketball team that will come here. And then just in my own opinion is that this will not be a one and done. This will be for many years to come, because the
Yep.
way they're going to structurally build up this league, it's going to make the most amount of sense. And I think teams will definitely, I don't even want to say the word like profitable, but they're definitely going to be well received in every city and every state they play, where they can come back season after season. So I can't wait, Coach. I think it's going to be such a great time. And Tampa Bay is going to be seeing something new and exciting. And not only that, let me remind people too, when people use excuses of that I can't do this because you have two Latino men right in front of you, a head coach and a broadcaster, coming from just out of nowhere and then climbing the ranks little by little in order to make a name for themselves. So when people say people won't look at me because no, it's because you have to push yourself. You have to put yourself to the forefront so people can see what your value and what your worth is. So that coming from the Latin side of the house, for a lot of those people that don't understand or just want to give up, don't give up, because you can be noticed and you will be seen and you will be heard. And it started from yesterday for those who voted, and it continues on every single day, because as I don't care if it's a man or if it's a woman, you're Latino, Black, Asian, whatever the case may be, you push yourself so people can see you. The ethnicity is one thing, but seeing you as a person. And Coach, my hat's off to you, because we don't have a ton of Latino coaches.
It's true. It's true. And the guys that, have been able to pave the way for people like myself and yourself, they've put a lot of sacrifice in. So it's up to us to really continue that culture and really help pave the way for the next generation of Latinos, minorities, and so on and so forth, to get to where they want to get to and obtain the goals that they want to obtain, for sure.
Yep. Listen, I'm very proud, as everybody should be too, of their ethnicity. It should never come down to. There's only one race, folks. All right. When people say races, one race is the human race. Different
Yep.
ethnicities, different cultures. So that's the big one. That's the word of the day is ethnicity. So I'll throw it up there. Not true. I'm gonna throw it up there, but nonetheless, hey, listen, you gotta find a way how to make yourself exceed over others, and that's just by putting yourself out there. And you've done it now. We're going to see it with this league, because we're going to have a boatload of different ethnicities in this league, which is going to be fantastic to see. And everybody will have just one thing in common, is that everybody wants to win. And I think that's what we're going to see out of this entire league. So listen, Coach, I'm not going to take up more of your time, but you will be back with me, because this is not the first and last time you'll see Coach. He'll be back. Who knows? The next time we might get into some Spanish music. You guys never know what's going to happen when he's on with me. So, Coach, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you, Angel. Thank you, everybody, for having me on the show. Go win the day, guys. Go win the day.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you as well. Tell your newlywed wife, congratulations. That we appreciate her now being part of this winning team. Even though I briefly got to see you guys, not too long ago, but we'll be seeing a lot of each other here soon. So thank you, Coach, once again.
Thank you. And I'll make sure to let her know. Thanks, Angel.
All right. You're welcome.
All
right. There it goes. The coach from the Wesley Chapel Kings, as he took some time today to be able to come on with us so he can share the excitement. This is going to be huge, folks. I can't say that enough when it comes to the Tampa Bay region. The Wesley Chapel Kings, this is going to be something big. With this new league, it is going to be something big. So stay tuned within the socials, and then hopefully soon you guys will start seeing a lot of the content over on SR 1029 The Game, especially when it comes to the Wesley Chapel Kings. So just stay tuned. This is going to lead to bigger and better things. So, all right, with that being said, we are going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to get in some videos. And again, I'm going to bring up that Dallas one so you guys can make your own opinions in case you missed it earlier this morning of what Jerry Jones and everybody else now is seeing what Jerry is not doing. Don't forget, you can always call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650, or leave your comments as the guys do, Rick and Penguin AZ and others as well. You can leave them right here on the social medias. You are listening to Martinez Company. I am your host, Angel Martinez of the Coastal Sports Network. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish, now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. And guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Phil Castanetti Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work. but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't just follow us on the socials. Call or text the show 727-858-6650 and let us know what's on your mind. Now back to Martinez and Company.
All right, welcome back. It is hour number 2 here of Martinez Company. I am your host, Angel Martinez. Of course, the show and or the network starts first thing in the morning with the Pete Shepard Show from 7 to 10 a.m. with your host, Pete Shepard, formerly and many years with WEI, now, of course, home here at the Coastal Sports Network. Martinez Company Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 10 to 12, sometimes a little later, sometimes a little earlier. But nonetheless, as I always allow for Pete to bleed into the 10 o'clock hour because it's a lot of fun to do the morning show. And on top of that as well, don't forget my hermano who is on a boxing assignment. Hopefully he should be returning back soon, but normally he would be on from, he's got to adjust one thing here. He will normally be on with us from 4 to 6 p.m., so hopefully he'll be back here soon as he's getting things done with the boxing world. But normally he is on from 4 to 6 p.m. And then B's World is on from Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 to 7 p.m. And then followed by on Wednesday nights to close out the weekly show as far as the Wednesday evenings is Talking Hoops with Coach Johnson, Coach Mac, and Ron Briscoe. And there'll be, I'm pretty sure, lots of basketball talk, which we had started out in the beginning of the show and mentioning about Joel Embiid's suspension. And again, it's because of him shoving a columnist from apparently in the locker room over the weekend. So he ended up getting a 3-game suspension on top of the fine that he had gotten on the NBA, on top of also when they're mentioning that this team, as Rick had pointed out, being 1-5 and just, listen, I don't know what's going on with the organization. I really don't know what's going on with the Sixers. Sixers right now are in their own way. For what reason, I have no idea. And I don't know if Nick Nurse signed up for this or he's just okay with everything that's going on. But, I mean, you make a big trade splash during the offseason. You have Embiid, who decided to go play for a gold medal. And now, I just think his NBA championship aspirations for Philadelphia has never been there. And now Philly decides this season to extend him. It was $83 million contract, whatever the case may be. I don't know what this organization is going to do. I really don't. The NBA season is it's young. We're just getting things kicked off here in the week 2 into the NBA season. It's just, I don't know. And you guys already know how I feel about this in-season tournament nonsense. And now apparently it's coming over to NASCAR as well. Why? Why do we have to award I understand, listen, at the NCAA level, I get it. I understand it. It's always been invitational. That's the way basketball season started with NCAA. NBA, really? We still have to do this in-season tournament? I just think it's an absolute joke when it comes down to it. And someone who probably thinks, too, it's an absolute joke, who I had the pleasure of, he stopped by the studio yesterday. This man's like all over the place. He's sometimes like the great Gazoo, because not only does he appear back in Philly, then he appears in Florida, then he appears back in Philly again. It is, as always, Duncan Dad joining me here live on the network. First of all, did you get any sleep? I know you did a private jet, but did you sleep at all?
Barely any sleep, man. Barely any sleep. It was left the airport, I think, here about 8:15, 8:20, and they flew us in, and we landed in the international terminal, which you've been to Philly, so the international terminal is like completely separate from
Right.
anything else. It's the first A1, usually domestic. So in order to get to the parking garage, the baggage area, we had to walk like 20 minutes through the airport, which, it's Philly has a reputation about being a pleasant airport to begin with. So now it's 9 o'clock at night on an election night. People are glued to their phones. We're running down trying to get out of Dodge, and finally get there, get home, and it's like, all right, now the waiting game begins. And whether you want to pay attention to it or not, you're sort of just inclined to be like, all right, let me check on it. And an hour goes by, you play a game. Oh, let's see what's happening. Oh, okay. Oh, that's all right. But my well-versed etiquette, right, was just like, you need to stay up for the whole thing. You need to listen to it. So like 3 o'clock, finally in the morning, I'm like, all right, I think this is called. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to rest, like ding, 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 6 o'clock alarm goes off. I'm like, oh, here we go. So I loaded up I rewarded myself. I was like, on the way back from going to school this morning, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to grab my like double Dunkin' espresso macchiato with like their holiday little menu stuff on it. And I got this nice little holiday cup already, which usually I'm against it, but today I'm like, it's all right.
Right. And I'm kind of surprised though, because Dunkin' Donuts usually, like Wawa and everybody else, they normally wait until at least Thanksgiving, I want to say, but man, maybe
they had the Wawa holiday cups out 2 weeks ago. Crazy.
That's too early.
I need some kind of synchronicity across the holidays. I just need that. I need to feel the holiday. But otherwise, like, why are you in an area that celebrates it so seasonally? Right? Because Florida has the holidays, but it's a completely different look.
Right.
Right? The same way it's a completely different look there in Arizona, right? The same way it's a completely different look up in Minnesota. Like certain seasons, certain areas dictate all of these things. Like we had the Pumpkin Fest, then there's the Halloween Fright Fest, and now it's back to where they're beginning, like the little holiday light traditions start to come out, and give me the seasons. That's what we're here. Take the whole seasons. But now, season holiday for everybody. You need a holiday? We'll get you one.
That's what it feels like. Honest to God.
Seriously. And listen, I'm all for like the inclusivity and diversity. Like that's celebrate out the wazoo. But at what point are we just going to realize, like, listen, we need to go to a schedule like they have in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Work a couple months, take a month off. Everybody's fine. The world's not going to crumble. Your business is going to like fall off the edge of the earth, because necessities and utilities are always going to be there.
Yep.
Right? They're just going to be there. And those companies are like, yeah, we'll pay our employees for the time off. Guess what? Why? Because then they come back. They don't take sick days. They don't take rando vacation days in the middle of like your peak seasons. We need to rethink some of this.
They have to. That's because, and I think I know some people put out Halloween trees. Some people put out Thanksgiving trees. And then you have the folks that put away, obviously the Christmas trees, but I've seen a lot of, and maybe it's just getting more and more every single season, because some people buy a black Christmas tree just for like Halloween.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend, wonderful, wonderful lady, family, kids, all that. and she has this holiday tree. Completely foreign concept to me. But as they step through, I'm like, oh, okay, little hearts for Valentine's Day, shamrocks for St. Patrick's Day, you get the eggs for Easter, Thanksgiving, you get the leaves and the fall stuff. I was like, I could see how this could be, pretty consistent. And a lot of times too, Angel, like we don't focus on, and I'm not being all whatever in my lane today, but we a lot of times lose our place when it comes to those little traditions
Yeah.
and celebrating these little hallmark holidays, more or less. But if you think back to when you were a kid, it was so cool when you went to your grandma's house, your nona's house, then the abuela's house, and she's got this little bag of candy for Valentine's Day. And it might be like 2 quarters stuffed in there because you're really good or whatever. You get like the candy cigarettes or the gummy hearts or something like that. And then you come around on, St. Patrick's Day and you get the green colored cupcakes or the little, cookies from the bakery or whatever. Shout out to Eggly's. But like little things like that stick and that we don't pay attention. Now it's just like, oh my God, it's Valentine's Day. You better go buy flowers and chocolates and have a nice dinner. Oh, it's St. Patrick's Day. You put a 2-day bender, right? I mean, like,
Exactly. That's it. It's funny because you have so many people like so up in the Northeast, it's first of all, once the cold air hits, it is so hard to do like anything. And people here don't understand. Like, Florida, it gets cute every once in a while, like 28, but people tend to forget it warms up really quick. Now we're surrounded by water down here. So the difference is a 15-degree temperature up in Philly almost feels the same here in Florida because of the moisture that's in the air. And you can wear whatever you want to, and it goes completely through you. But it makes me, the only thing, and it's still just, as December rolls around, everybody thinks about snow and everything else. I think the big thing that people tend to forget is that, here, once again in Florida, I always think like, oh, damn it, the snow's coming for that brief moment because it's spending so many years up in Philly. So yeah, I'm with you as far as like, when it comes around to it, people tend to lose weight prior to Thanksgiving because then they're like, well, I'll put on that extra 20 pounds for that, that 4-day stretch of a weekend and then go back to normal.
That's right. I mean, I'm there. I've gotten into that, and it drops off really dramatically in these northern states, right? Like we've been lucky, end of August through Labor Day now has been a little more consistently warm, but mentally, you're like, okay, my summer's over. It's getting to be football weather, it's fall weather, it's sweater weather, it's hoodie weather, and where you may have been a little more active, you tend to draw back with it. And not for anything, when you fall back, we do our daylight savings time thing, that really, really gets to people. You're waking up in the morning and it's pitch black, or it's just barely you see the sun coming up over the horizon. By the time you're done working, it's dark outside again. So now you just sit on the hour on a freeway on 76 or 95 with a bunch of JOs, yourself who's already amped up. It's dark out. There's probably going to be some rain and crap going on. And you're like, I'm going home and I'm ordering a cheesesteak tonight. Right? And that's like, it goes from the one night little treat. Now it's like, all right, now I'm getting a pizza tomorrow night. Now I'm going to have Chinese the next night. Next thing you know, you're like, these jeans are a little tight. What the hell happened? I got a cruise coming up. I'm supposed to go away for vacation, blah, blah, blah. What do I got to do? And have all these yahoos, fad diets and whatever. But you're right. Like we were talking, we're just like, all right, listen, we've got 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving kicks off. And then after that, re-up again. So let's be mindful of what we're doing. So when we get to that point, because, shop talk again, right? It really does play into the whole person. Like people, they have all these self-help books, they have all these talky things, all these gurus. And let's just be honest, like when your head's in a good place, when your body's in a decent place, when you're maintaining, when you have some sort of, I'll call it like, I won't call it spirituality because I know that's a hot word, but when you have something that you acknowledge that's sort of bigger than you, that's sort of like, okay, this is my guidepost sort of thing.
Right.
Like those are good. Like those are good things for you to do. And you feel better, you act better, you're more on top of things, you feel a little more motivated. But one or two of the things fall off and then you have all the environmental factors that go on with it. Man, that's an uphill battle, man. That is an uphill battle.
It is. Well, someone that can tell us about the time change and going bananas 29 yards will end up being Rick Marcus down here from Tampa, which, Rick, thanks for joining here on the line. But I don't. Does the hour change make any big difference to you, Rick?
I actually feel more tired.
Yeah, some people do, which is it's crazy to think. Some people, and what makes me laugh too is sometimes, Rick, is that how is it possible? And everybody's different. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to judge anybody, but you'll hear like all the time, like, "Oh my God, it made a world of difference for me." I'm like, you do realize that when either before you go to bed or when you wake up the next morning and you change the clock, it just to me, it's all the same. It makes no difference. But I know you have to get up early. I know I'm up in the butt crack of dawn as well to get everything going here on the network. But Rick, first of all, once again, thanks for calling. But I would assume you have something on your mind, and it might be maybe in relation to the Sixers.
That was part of it, but I also wanted to report there's traffic on Hillsborough Avenue going south over by Memorial with an accident that happened in the center lane. There's your eye on traffic.
There you go. Ion Tampa Bay brought to you. You know what Rick has to be, Duncan Daddy has to be like the Arco Go Patrol back in Philly.
I remember.
It's funny because it's so fresh in my mind because I was stopping by the studio and I know exactly where you're at now. That Hillsborough and Memorial, and I was like by Mariner and all that kind of stuff. And I'm starting to like we do this in the Northeast right away. Like you build these maps in your head by blocks. You're like, all right, I've got this grid. We got this 100, boom, boom, boom. And now I think this is now like I don't know, got to be over half dozen, 8, 9 times down there now. So I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get that mental picture in my head where you start dropping a name like, oh yeah, okay, that's here. Oh yeah, that's there. All right, I know where you're at. But yeah, we just for Rick doesn't know, we want to look each other up. We came down on a quick Frontier flight and then we took American back. So I don't know if I was in your section of the airport, but we'll be back down that way fairly soon though, and I think we do have a couple of Southwest flights.
Yeah, I actually was off on Monday, and I had a dentist appointment at 3:30, so I wasn't sure. But the key is I don't have Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So that's why I couldn't get in touch with you. And then things happened where Angel was sick on Monday and all that kind of stuff. So, but my apologies for that.
We'll use the old smoke signals, and that's not not meant to mean anything wrong, people.
Or Western Union
history class, or Western Union. Western Union's good.
Sure is. Rick, you got to get on Twitter.
Talk about the Sixers though. 1-5. What is going on with that team? I mean, it just seems like that. Embiid is unhappy. I don't understand that team at all, and I'm not a fan of Morey at all.
No, well, because okay. Nick Nurse came here with a complete different vision last season. And then you have, again, Josh Harris, who's kind of putting more of his focus attention on the Commanders. And just in my opinion, what the hell do I know, versus when it comes to the Sixers. But Nick Nurse is the one that's running this team. And he should be having a tighter grip on this team because you have, like, how do you go, and I know I've said this a million times, so I just keep saying it too, because you went overseas to win a gold medal because in your mind, it seems like you, Joel Embiid, not the Sixers, cannot pull off an NBA championship here in Philly. At least that's the way I feel. And I know no one's going to say that because they're going to be like, oh, how now can you possibly say that? That's cruel. Because it's the truth. When James Harden was here, right? Everybody talked about James Harden like, well, and when Joel came back in game 2, it seems like Harden was like, all right, you know what? The spotlight's off of me. Now it goes back to Joel. Screw it. I'm out of here too. I give up. I'm done. So now you have different talent on this team. You make a splash during the offseason, and then the only splash you're making now is that the entire team itself is just drowning in this pool that no one can lift them up from. I mean, there's not a life preserver that's being thrown in their direction because, again, you get fined by the NBA for that nonsense that Joel Embiid can call, and Paul, for that matter, they can pretty much call whenever they feel like playing, when they don't feel like playing. No one's ever heard of this nonsense. Then you decide you want to do this goofy nonsense over the weekend because a journalist decided to, and again, I never condone about, you should never bring up anybody's family in any kind of conversation whatsoever. Talk about the player. If he quit on the court, whatever the case would be, that's all full game because of what happened on the court. But this team continues to fall apart at the seams. And to me, just in my own varied opinion, is that Nick Nurse really has to take and do a closed-door meeting and start telling the guys, either we can change this and go 5-1 the next 6 games, or we can do another, 1-5. and decide to become 2-10 here in the next 6 games. So Nick Nurse, to me now, is to be held responsible and accountable for all the negative publicity that is coming the Sixers' way. And Duncan, Dad, I don't know if you have another very different opinion about that one, but to me, this is all on Nick Nurse.
When you go and you hire a coach of the caliber like Nick Nurse, you bring him for one reason, right? To get you over that hump. We always talk about being the guy, but not being the guy because you're not the guy for the team at the time. He's supposed to be that guy. And to his credit, Harris sort of outfitted him with a decent roster. He was able to go say, all right, you want Paul George? I'll go bring him in for you. If you want him, we'll spend the money on Paul George. We'll re-up Embiid. We'll make sure we lock down Maxey. We'll go and draft the young kid from Duke. Like, I'm going to give you a core to work with, right? But when you come into your preseason and then you come into the first couple weeks of the regular season and you have guys that you are expecting to be there to get you off on the right foot, and we start hearing about load management. He's coming around. Everything will be all right. They're working into this process. That flies and plays when you don't have other things that preceded it. You took a whole summer. You went to Europe. You were hell-bent on winning this gold medal. Okay, awesome, fantastic. But now, I hate to be the butthead here, but like now your real job starts, right? Like you're representing your country, amazing, greatest thing in the world. I think it's the penultimate thing that you can do. Play for any kind of national team. I think that is like because it's way, way bigger than you. It's way bigger than your league. It's an entire identity of your people, right? But now you're getting paid X amount of $1 million, $30 million, right? You have to come prepared to go to work. And we're already on the wrong foot where he's like, well, it's going to be load management. I'm not going to play back-to-back games, which, look, if that's your goal for the end of the season, then you sort of have to lead with that. Not like, hey, everything's all fine and well, can't wait to go, and then nothing. And then the whole idea with Marcus Hayes, like, Marcus has been writing for years, right? Longer than probably Embiid's been alive. Do I think that you should leave out the family component of it? Sure. Like, I don't think you should, drag in, his deceased brother and his son. I think it should be about his play. I think it should be about, his injuries. It should be about his availability. And people are like, oh, well, he came back. And there's pundits over here saying, well, he played with a broken, orbital bone. He played with a broken nose. He played with, broken fingers. The issue is that's 95% of the problem. Like, you've played in, what was it, 53% of the games that you could have been available to in your NBA career. And I made this comment straight to my colleagues, or my peers at 97.5 and on PHL. Like, if I did 53% of my work, you're damn right I would be called into my HR department, or I'd be called in by my head coach and going, dude, like, what am I going to get from you? Oh, well, you got an NBA MVP. Okay, but I haven't been to an Eastern Conference Finals. I haven't been to an NBA Finals. Like, come on, like, help me out. Like, help me here. Like, sorry, did the Eastern Conference Finals, but like, help me out here. Like, you haven't gone over that hump, and people are like, oh, well, he was the number one guy on the team, didn't have anybody else. And I'm like, no, that's BS. You got an all-star Tobias Harris. You had an all-star Ben Simmons. You had an all-star Jimmy Butler. You have an all-star in Tyrese Maxey, right? You have an all-star Paul George. Like, stop me when he doesn't have a team around him. He does. He did have a team around. You went out and got a Hall of Fame coach in Doc Rivers.
Right.
Like, how much more do I need to do for you, dude?
That's why
I'd rather you take it a little bit easy, work from a more traditional position of a center on the court, ease your way. Like, I don't need you going out there dropping 35 every night. Hold it down, man. Give me 25 and 15. Dude, give me a Djokovic kind of game, right? Dominate, kick out. So when we get to this point in March, April, May, yeah, now you're fresh and you're ready to go.
We'll see.
And the whole idea of him going hands on with the reporter, people are like, oh, they're sticking back up for the athletes and blah 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 blah. I'm gonna go back to my Mike Tyson comment that it always comes up on the memes. People are getting way too comfortable with getting called out on stuff, saying things, and not getting it back in their face. Now, Embiid saying it to him, but also like you're in this position. You're the star athlete. Like you want to be praised and have all the adulations, but at the same time, I'm going to call you out on this stuff here.
Yep.
Right? You can't have it both ways, and that's how we operate now. Is we coddle these athletes to a point, and believe me, I love them. I'm friends with some of them. I respect what they do to this level that I'll never be able to achieve in my entire life. But along with that comes greater responsibility, right? Spider-Man, number one, right? Great power comes great responsibility. With great talent comes great responsibility. You have a responsibility not only to yourself, but to your team, to your town, your organization, your 76ers. But it's true.
It is very true. It is very. It's all good, valid points. All good, valid points. Because again, you, as Coach ever said, you play to win the game. That's what you're ultimately what's the goal ends up being here. I mean, I even Coach Evia, I mentioned to him about what needs to be done as far as what is Chapel Kings, and they haven't even started, but he knows the ultimate goal is going to be, and the accountability starts with him. Yeah, you can point back, like I always point the fingers at Josh Harris, but ultimately Josh hires people to what? So they can delegate. I mean, as an owner, if you got to turn around and constantly say, all right, I need so-and-so. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're exactly right. And I think this is exactly where you're going. My barometer for the star athlete is always, do you make the individuals around you better, even if that means you have to become less, right? Like Jordan got to his greatness when he finally decided, look, I got to trust Scottie Pippen. I got to trust John Paxson. I got to trust Craig Hodges. I got to trust, Bill Wennington to make these shots. And sometimes by taking a little off of your plate, you're lifting everyone else up. And I'm sure the coaches say the same thing. Like one night, I'm going to need you to just be lockdown defense. Don't turn the ball over. Lock this guy down. Give me 7 points and 7 assists. We're going to another night. I'm going to need you just to we're going to feed you the ball and take 15, 20 shots, right? But these guys nowadays, there's very few and far between, and you can pull them out. And what do we say about them? Oh, that guy's great. That guy's a leader. This guy, exactly. Okay, Mahomes, you might like his methods and whatever, but guess what? He makes people around him better. Tom Brady makes people around him a lot better. Go look at the Dodgers, right? Freddie Freeman, he makes people around him better. They just do. That's what really good, proficient stars do. And it doesn't mean anything to do with talent, doesn't have anything to do with desire or heart or your love for the game or what you put into it and your passion. It's just that certain individuals, I mean, whether I'm on his bandwagon or not, like LeBron, by his presence, makes the opportunity for other individuals to be better. He does. And he you can't eat my own crow, right? But he does make people around him better.
He does. It's just again. There's a lot of accountability that a lot of people don't want to take. You could be. Everybody's had that one job where that one person everyone pulls the weight, and yeah, you can, and everybody's done it where it's like you complain until the cows come home, and then either you do something about it by and it's a shame to say that you end up picking up their slack. But a lot of times you have to pick up their load, and then hopefully management will see what you're doing and eventually get rid of that person, because that's what it comes down to. I mean, I've had jobs where it's been the same exact way. You got that one, it's like when their day off is different than yours, man, you go into work with an extra pep in your step and the whole 9 yards because you're like, wow, this is freaking great. I can't, I'm loving what I'm seeing here today, the production value, the whole 9 yards, but it's all, and it starts. I don't care. You can have from the cheesiest job to the most high-end paid job, it's about accountability. And you have to be, especially when you're part of a team, your accountability starts. And the load management, when it comes down to it, they have to go back and take a look. Is this on me? And am I the one that has to point the finger back at myself before I blame my team? Because you have good management, you're going to have good employees. It's better management, better employees. Great management, great employees. It's just the way it works. But when you start going and saying, well, I really don't have to do anything per se because I'm at that management level and everybody else, you just got to pick up my slack.
We have lost very much so in this day and age the ability, and I was guilty of it, I was 100% guilty of it because we all go through this point in our lives where we know, like, our poop doesn't stink. I got my stuff, locked down. I'm
Mhm.
hustling, blah, 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 blah. But the corrective criticism and the ability to take that, look into what you're doing. I don't care what you're like, what craft it is. You could be flipping burgers, you could be doing trash, you could be a CEO, right? But like, in order to constructively, without any sort of barrier, say, hey, I can improve in this area. And maybe if I did this, it would lessen my tensions and stress over here, right? The same thing with an athlete. Like, hey, I'm doing everything. I'm selling out. I'm playing through all this, blah, blah. Yes, and that's wonderful and that's amazing. But maybe if you didn't focus on the look at me, I'm going to do this and I'm coming back and this is all my heart, and you stopped and you said, hey, can I help this component of my team or my business? And everybody then achieves, everybody then wins. And sometimes you need your star performer, right? You need your kick butt realtor, you need your kick butt CEO, you need your closer, you need the hammer, right? But there's so many other components that go into that unless there's this copacetic balance between everything, you're gonna have the guy who's like, ugh, here comes the a-hole again. You know, stuff doesn't stink and everybody loves him, blah, 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 blah. And they become such a domineering personality, the locker room, the court, the field, the office, wherever, that you're the guy who's just like, all right, when they going to be gone? When they going to be gone? Because they might hit a home run 1 every 10 times at bat, but everybody else is holding the average and making everything go and sustain themselves. And you have everybody's been there. We've probably all been at one point in our life, right? Everybody's been the busy guy or the busy girl. I can go work, do busy work a couple hours. Sure. Sometimes you don't want to be there and just, oh, look, it's already lunchtime. Oh, 2 o'clock. All right, time to get ready to go. But like, that wears off, right? And if
Yep.
you're still in that mindset, then one or two things happens. Either you get let go, dismissed, you're no longer fit for us, or you realize that you yourself have sort of outgrown your environment and you go start your own company. You forge your own path, whatever. Like, it's one of those divides where it creates both the failure and the success. But it starts with putting it on yourself and be like, okay, I'm great at this. I'm really proficient at that. I really suck at this. All right, how do I fix the suck part? Right? And then how do I stay proficient at fixing that part? Yeah, like it's lost so much because we have so many athletes and so many entertainers, and we talk about, like, we had this conversation, like, we talk about the quality, right? Like, quality and consistency. Like, you could never, ever have batted below 250 in Major League Baseball for the longest time. Now, we're trading guys with a $185, a 200 average because they're hitting 40 home runs, 45 home runs. You'd been cut in the first 2 months of the season.
You would be. You would be. Again, just accountability. So I'm going to leave it at that. Just it comes down to accountability. All right. We are going to take our next break here before we start to shut down the show for today. But I also have an update on the other side with Drive with Q. So we'll talk about that. And we'll get into some videos from Get Up because there's a lot of varied topics where it came from the NFL trade deadline and other teams as well, where now some things that are discussed here on the network, other people are starting to pick up on it as well. The frustration level with different organizations are starting to come ahead. So we'll get into that and more. Don't forget, you can always call or text the show just like Rick did at 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. Visit sr1029thegame.com. You can download the app directly right there from the home website. Therefore, you guys won't miss any of the show content. You can always go back and watch the replays and also see the other content that we have on the network as well, as we do appreciate. So when we come back, we'll get into Get Up's conversation. We'll also mention the update with the Drive with Q and more. Right after all these messages, you are listening to Martinez Company here live on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Andersen windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Andersen windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Chicken and Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM, the Game app, and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, welcome back here to the final push on Martinez Company, live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 12 Eastern Time. Of course, it starts in the morning, as I always like to call it, the mid-morning show before the midday show. But I wanted to update everyone, as I mentioned prior to the break, and I'm going to bring it back up because I want to make sure I say it correctly. So, my hermano will be back Friday live on CSN around 5 o'clock for a Football Friday edition. And then today and Thursday, he will be dropping new editions of The Drive with Q, so subscribe to his YouTube channel for that. That would be at Rich Q on Q. And like I mentioned before, he is doing the double duty because as he's doing a lot of boxing events, then when he gets the time to be able to drop new things, he'll be able to do so. Also, his latest Back Your Play will be out later this week. Week 10 NFL, and his guest is Professor Shine, who is a very skilled handicapper. You can download his shows on Spotify and Amazon Music as well. So, Rich, my hermano Q, The Drive with Q, will be back this Friday at 5 o'clock, and it's always good on a Freaky Football Friday, especially when it comes to the network. And we like to call it the Party Line Fridays as well, when it's myself and Duncan Dad, Fuji, Gaslam Guy with his weekly reports, and of course Rick Marcus. He had to jump off a little bit earlier on, but I thank for Rick for tuning in. All right, so I want to get into a couple of videos here before we end up ending the show. First one being, as we all witnessed, when it came to DeAndre Hopkins, and a lot of people thought, okay, maybe he's done, maybe he's not done, blah, blah, blah. And the Chiefs and Andy Reid continue to find ways to win. So, that being said, from Get Up, this is from the crew discussed where Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia may land in the top 25 rankings. I want to bring up this college thing first. Then we're going to get into what they had mentioned about, in fact, we're going to do a reverse. We're going to do first is DeAndre Hopkins, that he solidified his chances of being first team in NFL history to three-peat. This is, again, with Greeny, Jeff Saturday, and the gang on Get Up. So let me set this up correctly. Why does it? There you go. I want to make sure I do that correctly because sometimes things will like to fast forward when I don't want them to do so. All right. So let me flip this over so everybody can see the video that's about to be played here. Again, here's the gang, and they talk about, is DeAndre Hopkins the answer, I guess, going forward for Kansas City?
To the next element of this conversation, which is math. Who doesn't love math on a Tuesday morning? Come with me, if you will. Math. Pineapple Jack has created today's mathematics equation, and it is as follows. Kansas City Chiefs plus DeAndre Hopkins equals what? He looked spectacular last night, Jeff Saturday.
Championship.
Is the answer to that question...
Three-peat.
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 Is the answer to that question 17-0 on a three-peat?
Oh. I don't think 17-0. I don't think Andy Reid will play his guys 17. So even if they can clinch, I don't think they do it. If the Bills can chase them. But three-peat, I would put that in the...
I like my math. I
have a hard time with the 17-0, but I also have no trouble saying when I was wrong, and I thought DeAndre Hopkins wasn't going to be a huge addition, but we saw that on third down, it's so impressive to keep these drives alive, and also Patrick Mahomes trusts him. Yeah. And we don't see Patrick Mahomes give a lot of guys like chances to win challenge balls, and he's throwing up a bunch of like 50-50 or almost 70-30 in the other way. Like this one right here is into triple coverage with a Pro Bowl safety back there, and he trusts DeAndre Hopkins to make that play. That's scary for everybody in the league.
Which is, they're absolutely right. It is scary for everybody under the league because, again, you look at Kansas City, Andy Reid continues to find ways to win. Everybody can talk about Pat Mahomes all they want to, and in the end, Pat Mahomes also finds ways to encourage these guys to win. We already know the incident, what happened between Jason Kelsey. He already apologized for that stuff and move on from there. But you have DeAndre Hopkins, who people thought maybe he was washed up, had obviously a good enough game on Monday. Now, again, the talks resume. And I believe, in my opinion, watching what we saw on Monday, and even as much as they are banged up, Kansas City could be that first NFL team to three-peat. And I don't know at this point what would change my mind unless something drastic happens or Mahomes goes down. But Duncan, I mean, right now, truthfully, everyone is going to have to pursue the Kansas City Chiefs.
It really is amazing to think that we went from the New England Patriots to a legacy such as the Kansas City Chiefs. There's been such a consistent run from this team, and it's everything, right? It's top to bottom, it's coaching, and it's finding these little diamonds in the rough, right? Worthy's going to be back. Pacheco's coming back. Kelsey has finally, in his head maybe, or maybe him and Pat got together and like, all right, it's go time now. Like let's start to really put this together. 2 straight weeks over 100 yards receiving. He has a touchdown. Hopkins gets that second lease on life with the team that's of championship caliber. Name that comes to mind was Torrey Smith when he showed up for the Eagles. It was like, all right, here's this veteran receiver who's been doing it for a while, and now he's going to get this opportunity, and he's going to be playing on a team that has a little bit of juice behind him. Let's see what he can do. And a motivated professional all-pro on that kind of team where he knows he's going to be the go-to guy on those critical third downs, and he can deliver in those third downs, something scary to pay attention to. And I know there's a lot of graphics they show up now. It's like, oh, are the Lions the better team? Are the Bills the better team? Are, is Green Bay the better team? Blah, blah. Listen, you're undefeated, and you have a roster such as that, and you have coaching. And one thing I always like to hit on, Green and Gold did this thing a long time ago, and they were on ESPN Radio 1000 in Chicago when it first started. Mike and Mike in the morning. Shout out to the old guys, and shout out to Waddle out there, too, on 1060. They did a breakdown every year, and they would do it with every championship playoff team and run. And they would say, all right, here's the graphic. Give me O-line, D-line, like all the positions, right, quarterback. And they always go to head coach. And they always go then to like the X factor, whatever it is. And they give the 1 through 5. And like, if you go up and down Kansas City, like they'll grade out higher than these other teams consistently. Like I love Dan Campbell, but if you put me in a room for my life, Dan Campbell or Andy Reid, I'm taking Andy Reid. I mean, I just put me in a room, Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes. I'm probably going to take Patrick Mahomes. Right? Put me in a room, Sam Laporta or Travis Kelce. Well, I'm probably going to take Travis Kelce. It's just like you start ticking off these things like, oh, So until they're knocked off their perch and really knocked off their perch, because last year they lost like 4 or 5 games in a row going into the playoffs and then ran off 6 to win the whole thing.
Yep. And a lot of people, it's funny because even Ryan Neff had said it. And I mean, he's, used to be a Cowboys fan, then became a KC fan. He had blamed like everybody else for Jerry Jones making him switch. But, you go from one championship caliber team to another championship caliber team. But Ryan, he was honest, and he said that he didn't believe that they were going to win the Super Bowl. And I mean, and that's coming from a guy who always talks about his team, all together, even as a fan. But, we all thought the same thing, that there was no way KC was going to turn around and win a Super Bowl. And then I think the biggest one that made me laugh throughout the entire leading up to the playoffs was, can Patrick Mahomes win a playoff game on the road? Hello, if he wins during the regular season, does it really make a difference? No. He knew what the task was at hand. And then being in Vegas that whole entire time, and Monday night going up to the stadium, the confidence. Like I will say, I went from I couldn't stand Mahomes, but not in a bad way. I mean, like, because you get you get tired of hearing a particular person because of all the things they end up doing. But then when you go and you have the opportunity to listen to these guys talk and how they're just a well-oiled machine. And not one, like Mahomes never talked about Mahomes. None of these guys talked about themselves in third person, and they never talked about themselves as individuals. They all resonated the same messages that in order for us to be repeat champions, it starts tonight, just like it started in the beginning of the season, until we get to Sunday night when the game leads up to it. So that's where that take ends up coming. And then the other thing is with Dallas, and if you guys missed it earlier, the guys from another show had mentioned that they think that Dak Prescott had pretty much given up on the team itself. And Pete and I think we're kind of both in the same accordance that I don't think Dak Prescott, just decided to give up on his team. I don't believe so. But then here's the guys from Get Up saying, should Micah Parsons be traded? And you guys heard me talking about this earlier with Coach Etchia. So here's that one.
I have wanted to do a feature called Say Something and Duck. And this might be the perfect opportunity for me to finally bring it up. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to duck for fear of the reaction I'm going to get. But the Dallas Cowboys this year are as done can be. If any of you remember the classic movie Trading Places,
Yes.
the moment where they sell. That's what they need to do. The Dallas Cowboys should trade Micah Parsons.
You have lost your mind. You have way lost your mind.
I'm old enough to remember.
Oh my word!
When they traded Herschel, Walker,
whatever
Herschel, Walker.
Okay.
Yeah.
They got back a king's ransom.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson built that into a dynasty.
Who was that? Who built
Johnson.
it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I don't think Jimmy's coming to save him anymore.
No, probably not.
Micah Parsons is he is a dude. Okay, there are only so many that God create. He is special.
So I'm not going to argue with Jeff Saturday. I think that Greeny, I understand he's just, like he said, just throw it up there and see what happens and see if it sticks. But Dallas, in my opinion, they're not going to trade Micah Parsons. And if they do, they're absolutely out of their mind.
They have so much going on in the background with Prescott, him being injured, the drama with Jerry, the fact that McCarthy's on the hot seat. He's your mainstay on the defensive side of the ball, right? He's your all-pro. He's sort of like the identity right there now for Dallas. Getting rid of him, the same thing. Like, you would have to have such a king's ransom in return in order to justify it. And if they had a full complement of everyone and they were consistently performing more efficiently, and you could justify it in some way, I still don't even think you have those conversations and make those phone calls, right? Like he pretty much locks in, all right, when he's there and he's healthy, he's got our defense in a good position.
Right.
He's one of those guys on the field where you have to account to where Micah Parsons at, right? You look up and down rosters all the time, like, oh, we're playing XYZ team, blah, 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 blah. But you look at their defensive roster and you're like, all right, where's Micah Parsons going to be? What's he going to do? Is he going to float around a little bit? Is he going to drop back? Is he going to come rushing? Is he going to spot by quarterback? Is he coaching a running back? Like, they don't have half the problem they have against a team like Baltimore and Derrick Henry if you got Micah Parsons there. Completely changes the game plan for the Ravens, right? Completely changes the game plan for the Eagles as well. But the idea of, like, getting rid of him, moving on from him, everybody likes the clickbait, everybody likes the conversations, but fiscally, financially, like, it's just not a responsible move. What was the bad move was sinking all that money into your quarterback and handcuffing yourself, more or less.
Yep. So I feel for Dallas fans because they know how many Browns fans have felt for years. And then, it's just, Mike McCarthy needs to go. The same way, in my just most humbled opinion, is that Matt Eberflus needs to also go from Chicago. And Chicago, because fans blame Justin Fields. Some believe in Justin Fields. Some said that no, it was other situations. Matt Eberflus finds way for the Bears to lose. He just does. And they need a change in Chicago. They're already finding one with their Chicago White Sox, but they're going to have to do something, because if not, and the Bears are still trying to figure out where in the heck they're going to end up playing, in the next couple of years, because they're supposed to move out to the suburbs. Now they're saying that's not going to happen. Blah, blah. I mean, I don't know. That Bears organization, they also have issues as well. So who the heck knows? All right. Well, with that being said, we'd like to once again thank everyone for joining us here today on Martinez Company. We'll be back here on Football Friday with all the shows. As you guys heard, The Drive with Q, we'll be back at 5 o'clock on Friday, which I'm pretty sure he is super excited that he will be on. Tonight, for those looking for Talking Hoops, I just got an update for you guys. Talking Hoops will not be on this evening. There's a situation that needs to be handled, so they will be back come next week. But later on, it will be Bee's World coming up here at 6 p.m., which should be exciting with Beeve, as he's missed out a couple days because of things going on here throughout the entire network. And so now Beeve will be back here at 6 p.m. this evening. So thanks to all the guys, as always, Penguin AZ, Rick Marcus, Joey B, everyone who puts their comments in there, the text board, along with Coach Hevia that came in for the Wesley Chapel Kings, and of course Duncan Dad for not only swinging by. Oh, I should have grabbed the box that was delivered, because then I could stop busting people's chops and saying he only sends me the filters. He actually brought the nice little case of Dunkin' Midnight Coffee, and I very much appreciate it.
Excellent. Yeah, you can bust them out on Friday and show Beeve and show Gas Pump and Rick and all them. So
exactly,
it was nice. It was a good visit. It was a good visit, man. Nice, good chat and good talking. And everybody was out there across the socials, the YouTubes, the Facebook, the Twitches, the X. Go to 1029 The Game. Click on the link. Download the app. Follow us all over. Take us with you. Take you with us. It's a great time. Text Angel. Send him a request. Maybe he'll play you a song.
It could be. It could be. I was hoping at one, and who knows, I might end up doing it. I've, amongst the other stuff that I got to, one day I'm going to put on a DJ type show one of these days, but then I'll get hammered for it, but nonetheless, it's what I do. But anyways, nope, thank you. And as he said, just visit sr1029thegame.com. You guys see it up on the screen. You can also snap that QR code is up there on the screen as well, so you can download the app and visit, because as I mentioned all the time, things can end up changing. Things can be redirected on the website. There could be some additions up there as well, because you never know when a new show is going to land and appear up there. So always check out the content over on SR1029 The Game. Again, congratulations to the ladies and the honors they received on USF Women's Soccer as their next match. Big one tomorrow against East Carolina in semifinals at 7 p.m. That'll be up on ESPN Plus, so make sure you take a look at that. And also USF football. Big weekend coming up against Navy, and it's homecoming week. So it's going to be monstrous out there at Ray J, and that is a must win for USF. But they are challenging themselves with Navy. We see that took care of business over in Southeast Florida. Now they're hoping to take care of business right in their own backyard. So thanks to them, men's basketball team loses their first game. No big deal. I'm pretty sure the home opener will end up doing it for Coach AAR. So listen, go Bulls as always. Thank you all for tuning in. We will talk to you all tomorrow on the Pete Shepard Show as he gets the morning kicked off at 7 a.m. Until then, have yourselves a great sports day, and we'll talk to you soon.